Hey guys, welcome back. This is another tutorial. It's going to be a tutorial about exploring and mastering the blending options tool. Now this is a tool which is right here, and in this tutorial I just want to explore ideas because earlier on when I was starting out in design and stuff, uh, specifically in illustrations, you find that there are very many instances where color tones uh, that make up the underlying illustration, they may be confined to a certain harmony, but often what's not talked about. Okay, like in that case, in that instant, uh, it makes perfect sense because if you're using complementary colors or analogous colors, whatever, that makes sense. But in when it gets to when you introduce light to an image, and let's say light which is not which has a different various hue, it can be blue or it can be orange, so it's going to cast shadows onto the object regardless of what color is there. And now the thing to note is how to replicate these colors. It can be tricky, and I've used the blending options tool to explain it below. But let's first begin, of course, with the first instant where I can first of all draw just a slight object. It doesn't have to be any specific object, and I'm going to give it a color, let's say red. Oh, that whatever. And now, if I want to blend this with another object of a different color, let me switch this one off and then just make a different again. I'm going to give this a different hue as well. Okay, so if I want to blend these two colors, and again, these colors may not be specifically the same, but if I want to blend these two colors in design, most design tells us that you cannot, or most of the time you shouldn't be combining colors that aren't harmonious together, right? So but this blending options tool, it helps you to kind of find a walkthrough with that, because now if you come over there and you go to blending options and blend, okay, blending options, now you may decide to choose uh, let's say blending options. You go to specified steps and then you put in a value. Let's put in 250. Okay, so once you put in 250 and then you go back to blend, by the way, the shortcut is Control Alt B. So to make the blend, now you see that this color is, it can blend into that color, right? So again, even if you go and decide to change this hue and maybe make it a yellow hue or make it so there you're not going to really mind about various color harmonies and stuff. What you're trying to do is portray uh, a certain variation of what you're trying to illustrate. So with that in mind, now we have the main important topic of today, which is, again, I'm going to create just some object, and again I'm going to be using the blending tool. Right now I have these two objects here, I can make them three just like that, right? So the blend options tool offers you a like when you're doing this, it gives you an infinite possibility of options that you can do, because now when you go over here and you go to object, blending options, you can change the specified steps distance, maybe because there is a very short distance there. and we are using lines, we can give it maybe 24, all right, or 25, whatever. And then you go back to Control Alt B to blend them. Now you see that you're creating very interesting shapes here, right? So now you could, there are very many, there are infinite possibility of ideas that you can come up with when it comes to blending shapes like this, because now you can decide to make it, let's say, give it an overall gradient, right? So that means selecting all the shapes in the group, and then you come over to the gradient section here and choose maybe a linear gradient, and the color on one side you can give it. And now here, that's where this rule of, like, you don't necessarily have to follow the color harmonies here, because it's going to blend in seamlessly. So when you come over and maybe choose green and purple, right, you see that it's creating these interesting patterns. And you give it green and blue, it's creating very many patterns which can be very interesting. And what can only change is, what only limits you here is your imagination, right? Uh, so when you understand the way these things work, so you can use it to create various patterns of your own, which you can put on your designs, maybe on t-shirt designs or stuff like that. Um, I'm going to quickly do another experiment here. I'm going to reduce that. Another I'm going to do is I'm going to get my pen tool and just create a brush very quickly. If you don't know how to create a brush, just get your pen tool and just click once here, and then shift click to make a straight line, bring back like that, and then pull the edges. There are very many different ways you can do this, and turn it from a stroke to a fill. Give it a radius, give it, sorry, a fill color of, say, black. So give it a fill color of black, and then come over here to brushes, add new art brush. So you just call it an art brush, and then select its name. So let's say today's work or whatever. Because anyway, in Illustrator, once you close Illustrator, it's going to kind of delete this, so you don't really have to worry about the naming if you're doing something temporary. Now you close that, and now we can come over to the brush tool here, and we can begin making shapes. Now the brush strokes that we're making are being affected by the brush that you just created, and it has these tapered edges. So you can just again play around with it. So when you decide to blend these shapes, for example, right? So let's just make that, and then if you're deciding to blend these shapes, for example, again, you come over here, select all of them, go to the blending options. But the blending options, by the way, you do it once unless you need to check the specified steps. But once you do it, you only do it once, and then Control Alt and B on your keyboard, and it blends them for you. Now you can use that it's kind of too much. Now you can come over here and change the stroke width by just coming over here and clicking. Once you double click here to bring up the brush properties, and you change this percentage here, so you'll see that it's changing right there. Okay, so you can change it to maybe 9%, whatever, 14%, 20, okay, 24. I'll leave it there, and then click OK. It's going to ask you to apply to the strokes, and then you apply. Now it's creating these interesting patterns. Again, it's overlapping because we just made some arbitrary stuff, and then, but you can come over to these and then add some gradients. Add a shape or a gradient. All right. So you can create individual gradients as well. So within those shapes that you just made, you can come over and use different gradients within those same uh, gradients that you just did. So in so doing, it adds detail to like kind of your design. It makes it much more complex, or if that makes sense. So here you're not paying too much attention to the color harmonies, because what you're doing is working with these designs. You're just exploring various ideas, and it doesn't really matter. Uh, there is less emphasis that you're putting onto making sure that each color is coming out. So here you can easily express your creativity. Can try to, maybe let's draw using the pen tool. So you can use the brush tool or you can use the pen tool, whatever you want. Also, so here um, you can use it to express any sort of message that you want to put out there. I'm just creating some whatever design, whatever, just some random objects. And again, when you go to Alt Blend Make or just Control Alt B, now you would see that it's creating this love sign. But I did this intentionally so that I leave this space here, because this is the message that I want to portray. And this is just something interesting going on there. So once I can increase my uh, my stroke width, and there I have something different, something to work with. Okay, so there are very many ways that you can explore with this. You can use these designs and you can put them on your t-shirts and see how they work out, if you like them or not. You can use those to illustrate real world objects. You can also do a lot of just try creating different shapes. You can also use real world objects. So now I've created again like this. Huh? And then maybe I don't know exactly, but what I know is that the blends, what I'm doing here is I know that this is going to blend with this and this is going to blend with this. So this is going to be blending from all sides as well as this. So when I go to Control Alt and B, I'm creating various shapes which can be interesting. And you can go to the layers again, like I showed you in the individual layers, and specify various color patterns. Okay, so that you come up with different. You can even give them gradients as well. So let's go, for example, to this color pattern here. Give it a different design, like a different uh, color blending, maybe red and blue. And then this one, give it maybe green or maybe blue and yellow, whatever. Okay, so you can explore with various options and try to see whether you can do something creative with it. But what you want to keep in mind is that when you're trying to create these shapes, you want to keep minimum detail. You don't want to use too much detail. That's why you've seen me just drawing some random shapes and just using maybe 2 or 3 shapes to kind of come up with a blend that I find that works. Okay, so you can use this to create as many. Let let your imagination flow, and you can also just, this is just to have fun. All right. Also, just one quick note: I got the photos from Tim Roddick. from Behance. You can go check out his Behance profile. He has some very great work. Uh, I got the design, the mock-up from his this this is actually the mock-up that I got. But I just, of course, I just did some changes, a little bit of changes to better suit my design. But you can feel free to check his work out. He has, as you can see, very good work. You just try and explore various techniques and see uh, what you can come up with, and maybe you can use them in like t-shirt designs or your poster designs. Just put them subtly in there, and they're very small things, but they make a difference. Okay, so this is what I wanted to say today. I'm going to leave it at this, and I'll speak to you in the next video. Take care.